So you're ready to start sewing your own clothes. Yay! I'm so excited for you! In this video, we're going to dive into the top things you need to know before you start cutting into your sewing pattern. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you'll get notified every time I upload a new video about sewing your own clothes and other small projects. Okay, let's get started. So when you have your sewing pattern, the first thing you'll notice is sometimes you will have style options of the garment that the pattern is for. So I'll show you an example of this. In this pattern in particular, it is a pattern that is for a long sleeve shirt, and there are two versions, and typically they are numbered or lettered. So when you are cutting out your pattern or even looking at what size to make, you want to make sure you're looking at the correct version that you're planning to make. The next thing you're going to want to look at is the type of fabric that the pattern calls for. So this is typically on the back of the pattern where the fabric requirements are and other extra sewing notions, and then there will be listed the type of fabrics that you want to use. This is really important to follow because some patterns will call for fabrics that stretch and some will call the fabrics that don't stretch, and they'll give you special notes there to help you pick out the best fabric for your garment. So I have an example of that here. For actually these two patterns, they both call for fabric that stretches, so that is a knit fabric, and it actually gives me an example of how far the fabric must stretch, so then the garment will fall correctly once it's sewn. The next thing you're going to want to keep in mind is your size. Now, something important to note is that sizes on sewing patterns aren't always the same as store-bought clothes. So what this means is you need to actually measure yourself to know what your measurement is in inches. And I actually have a video that I'll link down below that'll show you how to take your full body measurements, which will help you cut out the right size for your sewing pattern. Something else to keep in mind is that you'll want to look at the finished garment measurements if that's listed on the back of the pattern, as well as the sizing guidelines of the pattern. The finished garment measurements are the measurements that are taken from the pattern once it's sewn, and the sizing guideline measurements are what you'll measure your body with. An example from me and my sewing is the Megan Nielsen Florite dress. The finished garment measurements showed wider than what my measurements are, but that's because that's the way the dress is supposed to fit. It's a lovely flowy dress that falls away from my body, and that's how I knew it was okay that the measurements weren't exactly with what my body are, because the dress is supposed to be loose. This is just a small thing, but if you're wondering what type of fabric could work for your garment, if you're still getting to know fabrics, then I would recommend looking up the hashtag of the pattern name or even Googling it and getting some inspiration from there. I found that is super helpful. And that's really all you need to know before you start cutting out your sewing pattern. I hope this video was helpful. Please leave me any questions below if you have any other comments or questions about sewing patterns. I'd love to help. And please be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next video.